You're now entering the broadcast. Nurish broadcast, take one.
Welcome back to the podcast. We got here Rick, we got Dan, we got Charles.
Hey.
What's up? How you doing, Rick?
Welcome.
Good, man.
What you been up to?
Not much. So I'm Rick from Achilles Heel Tactical. First podcast I've ever done.
Yeah.
Congrats.
This week.
Yeah.
LA from Ohio and run this, but a little bit about what I'm doing. You know, Achilles Heel Tactical was started in 2017 when I got out of the military, and you know, with that being said, I do all kinds of firearms training for law enforcement, military, civilians alike.
Nice.
A lot of the guys in Charlie, he's been,
Nice.
Dan's
I
been a
love Rick.
student. You know, every time I come out to California, I'm welcomed by like just the coolest dudes, the hardest workers, and it's been super rewarding. So, yeah, the firearms industry has been pretty cool to kind of get into from the military, being in law enforcement and doing the law enforcement thing. But I really found out, you know, the as far as classes go and what fills and what the pedigree of students that come out are majority civilian. I think that is something there's something to be said for that. The guys that take it serious, and
Absolutely.
I totally underestimated that when I got out.
Especially here in California, where our I wouldn't say rights. Well, I guess you can categorize it as rights. It's restricted as far as the firearms that we can have, and well, the level of training is pretty. It's pretty expensive. We're allowed to train at least more. I feel like we train more than anybody else in the country, man. Just
You guys are going
just
every
because we're
other
not
week.
allowed to do it per se.
Yeah, there's a restriction, so there's
Yeah.
to do
Well,
it.
I mean,
There's restrictions to how much you could train?
No, on firearms.
Oh, okay, yeah.
yeah, and I mean, just a little history. I met Rick about, I want to say, a little over a year ago, possibly.
A little over a year.
Yeah, and believe it or not, I've been shooting for quite some time. I would say about 10 years, but I stopped shooting for about 8 years. And the first course I took was with you. I took it with my other boy, John. And it was me and John in your class, and I was just like, dude, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, bro.
Yeah.
And to fast forward it here to now to this day, I mean, to be sitting sitting with you here a year and some change later, I would never have predicted that. I mean, because of all the fire instructors that I've ever taken a course with, I've mentioned this to you, Rick, that you're one of the most intelligent, and your pace of the class is what I like, because it's you teach to the level of the group.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people teach to the lowest denominator of the group, and it holds the rest of us back. But it's almost like you expect people that take your class to show up with a certain level of proficiency, and the ones that don't, they'll catch up. And so that's what I like, you know. And so, I mean, beyond Rick being a dope ass instructor, I mean, you know, he's LEO and he's ex-military. I mean, this dude's fucking genuine badass, dude.
Hell yeah.
What was got him here today?
I was gonna ask, how many courses have you done out here already in California?
What is it? 3? Yeah.
Done 3?
3 or 4.
Okay.
4, because the last one was like a 2-day rifle and pistol.
Okay.
Hey, we'll get into that.
Okay.
That's dope.
Was it?
It's too early to get into now.
Was that the first one that you did?
Yeah. So we did that one over Mark's.
So I wanted,
Mark's
It's a rifle
spot.
and pistol.
yeah,
Light was
I wanted to
first
do the
one.
connection,
The
because I was like, I
low-light
wonder if
was
that's
one,
your first class with him was the time that I met him too.
No.
Oh, no,
That was
okay.
the second one. That was when
the
I
second
joined.
time.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
okay.
was the second one.
I took the rifle low light with you,
At Burrow.
and that was dope. Because
Dang.
I mean, you wouldn't think, but low light is so practical in the sense where I
Stuff
feel
happens at night.
Every day,
dude.
sun comes up, sun goes down. You got to know how to fight when the sun's up and when the sun's down, because the dynamics change. There's extra tools that are involved, extra tactics that are involved with it. And just thinking of, you know, threat perspective, it's pretty absent in this industry. It's more of like, this is a controlled range, that's a paper target. We're going to run fundamentals, but we don't really translate that into real world. You know, light goes on, light goes off. I need to have certain tools or certain attachments to my weapon so that I know, hey, or off of my weapon, like a freehand light, because not every time you hear a bump in the night do you need to pull your gun.
Yeah, man. Dude, well, I didn't even think about that until he presence in my life. I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, we know how to shoot in the light, we know how to shoot static, but try moving.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
turning the lights off, try that.
Man.
Then you're screwed. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the way you do your courses because it's just completely different. Because even when I was showing my sister the video I was editing and showed the course, she's like, "Dang, it's more than just shooting.
Yeah.
Like your courses are completely different from what other people are doing. So
Absolutely.
it's amazing. Incorporating jiu-jitsu too, I love that aspect of it.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I was like, yeah, what are you gonna do when you don't have a gun? You
Real
know?
world, man. That's what I try to keep all the courses, geared towards. Again, I have a lot of dynamics that come into my courses, and whether you're military, law enforcement, or civilian, I have to know my audience. I have to be able to relate it to you, like you were saying. Relating and knowing your audience is super important in my line of work, and then building block approach so nobody feels like, oh wow, I'm way past.
Right.
I was in long division. Now I'm in calculus. I'm completely skipped algebra. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Let's talk about real world. Could you tell us a little bit about how how you got into all this?
Yeah,
and
man.
Just
Yeah.
how you
Tell
came
us.
up into this?
yeah, man. So I grew up in Ohio my entire life. I never wanted to live there. I just, I loved it. You grow up in Ohio, you hunt, you fish, you go camping, and I always wanted to be something more and kind of go and experience life to its fullest.
Yeah.
So I started down a route that was pre-prescribed, hey, you go to high school, you go to college, and then you start that. As soon as I got into college, I was like, nope, not for me. Went straight into the military. So I got into the military, went to the United States Marine Corps, and I absolutely loved it. Fell in love with the job, wanted to put an entire career in. After my first deployment, I was like, this is it. I really like this. I really want to do this. Came home, met my wife. I didn't know she was my wife at the time. I met her, and I was just like, I was pretty sold on her. I was like, this is, it was a weird feeling I had, and I was like, this is the one.
Back in Ohio.
Yeah, dude. So back in Ohio, I was like, oh boy, this is not good.
How old were you?
I was 21.
Oh,
My next ship date was heading out to Hawaii. So I was like,
So let me get this straight. You were deployed.
Where were you deployed to?
I was over in the Middle East.
So you were in the Middle East, came back,
Yeah.
met your future wife.
Yeah.
In the span of how long did you realize, like, okay, this is the
I'm
one?
putting a ring on you.
Like 2 weeks.
Oh my god!
Yeah, you were 21.
21
So I was sold, man. I was so sold when I got to my second unit out in Hawaii. They were forward deployed. They come back, or I'm sorry, before they came back, basically I was in limbo. I could do whatever I want. So I told Haley, I was like, hey, come out to Hawaii, experience it with me for a few weeks. Well, that few weeks turned into, a proposal, turned into, hey, guess what?
Yeah.
They were expecting.
Yeah.
I was like,
Rick moves
So-
fast.
Yeah. He wasted no time.
So,
Yeah,
I
no
mean,
time.
dude, I had to grow up like overnight.
Yeah.
I remember when she dropped the news on me. I've never told this story. When she dropped the news on me, man, I was like, whoa, backpedaled.
Yeah.
Halt, kind of what the hell do I do now?
Yeah.
And super selfish in thought. I was like, how am I to do this? And I called my father, and he's like, hey, listen, I had your older brother when I was 16 years old.
my
Like,
God.
you're 21, you're established, you have a career set for you, a path laid for you, everything's going to be taken care of. Dude, raise a family. I was like, dude, and it just clicked like a light bulb, man. I was like, dude, I got to grow the fuck up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I got to grow up, man.
Yeah.
So I grew up really fast, really quick, had my daughter, and dude, that's when I truly knew what love was. So that was super cool. Went through a second deployment. And I can leave my family. I can leave, my wife. As soon as I had to leave that little girl, dude, it crushed me.
Yeah.
So this is my second deployment, first time leaving that little girl. I flew them back to Ohio. I'm deploying again. And I get back. It's, a good reunion. And then third deployment rolls up, right? So the third deployment's coming up. And it was like every 18 months I was deploying. So that third deployment came up. I told Haley, like this shit sucks. I'm sorry, that I kind of put you into this this lifestyle,
Yeah.
but it is what it is. It's kind of,
Yeah.
she accepted it. She's a troop, man. She 100% supports me in everything I do.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So found out we're pregnant again with my son. So
Oh, wow.
I've, got a second one on the
How
way.
old were you then?
Deploy.
Second.
Let's see. I was only 24.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So second one's coming, deployed for my third time. Luckily, I got to be there for that one. I missed my daughter's birth by a couple days, I think.
That's kind of rushy, man.
I was supposed to
That's
go home.
kinda
I
crushy.
ended up getting hospitalized overseas. So I was like, I got home when I could, and I got to see her afterwards. But I got to be there for everything with my son. That was super cool to actually experience and see and everything like that. But yeah, so after the military, man, it's being in the infantry. You deploy a lot. You're never home. You're always training. And then when I went to go be a scout sniper, like that was the set goal, man. I really wanted to do something. As you guys can see in my training, man, I'm not geared towards one focus.
For sure,
I'm not,
for sure.
Single, focus minded.
Yeah.
I want to be good at everything. I want to,
right.
if I'm good at one thing, I'm looking for the next
Yeah.
thing that I can be good at and progress in, because it just, reinforces all those skill sets and skill levels. So when I was looking for something else, I looked at it, long range precision as being like, that's a super, hard craft to learn, master. And then it's a new thing that I haven't really, dabbled in other than, hunting as a kid. So I went out for that, and I absolutely loved it. No, there's no more rewarding shooting on the face of the planet. You got to experience that yesterday. It was pretty cool to be able to call things and see things and have that knowledge and that background to be able to put a round, one round on a man-sized target, 1,000 or plus yards. So it was super cool. It was super rewarding. My third deployment, dude, my little girl laid on my deployment bag and begged me not to leave.
How old was she?
She's just about to be 2. So I mean, we're talking like a year and a half. Dude, it was rough. So like I said, I can leave my family, I can leave my wife. I left that little girl once, leaving her twice, dude, and watching that little, 1.5-year-old girl lay on my deployment bag and be like, don't go. Like I'm literally wheeling this out of the house, and I'm like, I can't do this again. So I got down on one knee and I said, listen, I will never do this to you again.
Oh man,
dude,
that gives me chills,
I
bro.
rolled
Yeah,
out.
that gives me chills.
I got 3 girls, and I can
That gives
relate.
me
I
chills,
promised
man.
her I would never do this again. As soon as I got back from that third deployment, I saw my son. I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I was like, I got to find something that I can do. So try to stay in the military naturally.
Yeah.
I gave them an option. I was like, hey, if you want to retain me, there's a lot of good Marines in the military. There's a lot of Marines that have the skill level and skill sets that I do. But if you want to retain me, these are my conditions. These are my terms. They said that nothing was available. I said, process me out. And, when I said that, I looked at Haley and I said, we got to figure it out. And so I'm going through the, process of getting out of the military, looking at, hey, what's next, what translates. And I looked into law enforcement. And I was like, man, that's like everyone's backup plan. Getting out, they're just like, well, I guess I'll be a cop, or I guess I'll be this. I had that mindset getting out. As soon as I got out, man, I went straight into the police academy. Never skipped a paycheck, never skipped a beat. I was using the GI Bill to get by, living with family.
And how old were you then?
So now I'm 26.
Wow, so
Yeah,
21,
26,
24,
yeah.
26. Okay.
So now 26 years old, and going through all of that, the police academy and whatnot. And once I got hired, I was hired by a city department while I was in the police academy. I was super blessed, man, because as soon as I graduated, that GI Bill cuts out and they no longer pay you. But I had a paycheck rolling in right then, so super blessed as far as never having to skip a beat on pay, taking care of family and stuff like that. It's always been my priority, is be a provider.
Yeah.
Super caveman in thought. I love to be sustainable, man. I love to be able to produce and provide. So yeah, when I started with that department, dude, I realized, hey, it's not just black and white. It's not just, A plus B equals C. And when I say that, like overseas, man, they don't look like you. They don't speak like you. They don't even wear the same uniform.
Right.
Right. Everything. They don't have the same religion or ideologies, whatever. And it's very easy to identify who you are and who they are, to where in law enforcement, man, it's an unknown environment. No matter what you do, no matter how comfortable you feel with a guy, and you know, I mean, I've had encounters with guys, you know, over and over and over again where they're cool. And then, you know, I deal with one encounter where I'm like, I know this guy, I'll take it. You know, I walk in his house, I'm like, Jesse, you know, I'll you know, talk to these people. And, you know, next thing you know, they pull a gun on you. And it's like, dude, what are you thinking? Like, I literally just dealt with you like last week.
Yeah.
And that's when the lights kind of turned on. I was just like, dude, you know, training is super important. So I started Achilles Heel Tactical when I was in the police academy. Started, you know, running real humble, modest training. Like, hey, just come out, experience what it's like to get outside training. So for law enforcement guys, it's really what I wanted to, because I can't appease law enforcement with, hey, I'm in the police academy. You know, don't come out to learn about how to be the best police officer. I don't know anything about police work. I'm still learning. But what I could offer is some kind of background in, you know, fundamental training. Yeah. So that's what I started doing. And then...
so did you do this for your department, or you just did this as like a blanket for anybody?
Yeah, I started doing it for civilians.
Oh, cool.
I had, you know, civilians, law enforcement guys coming in.
Oh, cool.
It was a really, really humble beginning as far as like, you know, working with the local range. Hey, can I start running? It was wintertime, so I was like, hey, can I start running classes in here? And yeah, dude, absolutely. So I started running classes. You know, with my background, I was able to get into that location and stuff like that. But I was fortunate enough with my department. It's not seniority based on anything. So like, you know, when it came up for, hey, they're looking for a law enforcement firearms instructor, you know, I put in my resume, hey, this is what I do, this is what I did in the military, and I was selected. You know, I beat with only a year and a half experience in law enforcement. You know, it's not that I beat, but they selected me over, you know, some guys with like 15, 20 years, which was super good. I went to law enforcement firearms instructor school. It's, you know, a month long. You learn every discipline from pistol, rifle, full auto, subgun, shotgun, everything. So you kind of learn a wide variety of firearm disciplines, but it's not how to be an instructor. Like, that's all on you. Like, it's just, hey, this is the weapon, this is how to operate the weapon. It's more of an operator's course of like, here's how you operate and functional, you know, be a functional operator of that course.
They'll teach you how
of
to
that
work with
weapon
humans.
system and how to run a safe range. That's pretty much what it was. But how to be a teacher, how to be a mentor, how to like motivate guys that can't be motivated, which is a plague in law enforcement. Right. That was hard. So I had to learn that all.
Really? That's motivating guys that can't be motivated, even in law enforcement? That's
in law enforcement, man, you know, most departments, law enforcement in Ohio, they get paid pretty well. Yeah. And, you know, to be paid time and a half, overtime, whatever, to be at the range and shooting, I mean, you're getting paid, some departments, upwards of like $52 to be there an hour to shoot. And you'll hear like complaining, and it's just, and this is nationwide. I've talked to guys, you know, that are full-time teams that have to, you know, train their general pop at their departments, and it's like, why is it so hard to motivate you guys? Do you carry a gun every day?
I'm blown away.
Outside the waistband, that's your duty weapon.
I'm blown away, because all three of us spend tens of thousands of dollars to train.
That's why I love you. Like, dude, you guys always go into trainings together, always working together and growing together. And I, like, when I first came out here a year or so ago, you know, I felt like I had pioneered some awesome motivation as far as relationships 100%. Go, because you and John, 100%. You guys have been going, Dan, all of you guys have been going together. Every time I see Mike from Knockout Lights, Kawa, you know, throwing on courses, you guys are all there together. Like, that is so cool.
Hell yeah, bro.
So cool. So with Achilles Heel Tactical, man, I've really tried to focus on the community. How can I grow a community that's, you know, motivating? It's motivating law enforcement, younger guys, my GWAT era, Global War on Terrorism era of the military guys that are getting out. You know, how can I motivate, and then also, you know, crack down on this A-type alpha personality where, like, you know, if somebody who's coming in from the tech industry, you know, comes into my industry and wants to learn how to shoot, the first time they walk into a gun store could be the on-off switch, whether they're interested in receiving training or not. So like, you being receptive and being like, hey man, how are you? How can I help you? You know, that's all you have to say. But instead, you know, you're just mean mugging him behind the counter. He's a customer, dude. And then vice versa. First guy he goes and takes training with is that, you know, red shirt NRA instructor, or that FUD instructor who, you know, just wants to, you know, just diminish guys on the
Yeah.
range. Literally
Yeah.
just, rag
Yeah.
on them. Why don't you know this? Safety, safety, safety. And safety is a huge part of it. But if you get someone so, like, constricted around the safety aspects of it, and you don't have a healthy, environment for learning, dude, you're never going to get them interested.
Yeah.
So growing the community is huge. And
Dude,
I think
not to interrupt you,
No, you're
but
good.
before I forget, that's the difference between you and other instructors I've witnessed and I've taken from, because firearms in general are super intimidating, especially if you have zero relationship with a firearm to begin with, and like you said, go into a store and you get kind of you're made to feel small because you don't know the information, you don't know the weapon, you don't know how to let alone manipulate it but handle it.
Right.
I mean, they treat you like an asshole, you
Yeah.
know. And then you go to a range where the instructor is super alpha and his job is to like show off about all the things he knows, and he makes you feel small. And you're like, okay, well, you know what, guns ain't for me, I'm not fucking with this anymore.
Right.
You know. And then it contributes to this whole theory or stereotype that guys who carry guns are these hyper steroid dudes who just want to fucking shoot and kill things, and they're not articulate or are intelligent. They can't speak. They're just brute force, knuckle dragging dudes, which is not true, man, because you're the exact opposite of that. You know, so it frustrates the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
Because when I talk to other people, we talk about firearms. That's their view of us, man.
Yeah, it is. It's sad.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, originally too, for me, when I was going to purchase my first gun, I was like intimidated. If I didn't have any connection, like if these guys didn't have guns, I probably would have never gotten one. But since I was able to go on the range and experience it and see like, okay, this is something I could probably get into. I think everyone should at least know the fundamentals of a weapon,
Right.
always.
Absolutely.
So then when I went into Warrior One, I mean, they were great customer service. With the COVID stuff going on, I mean, there was a long wait, but I mean, as soon as I went in, their attention was just on me, and that was perfect.
Yeah.
So. And that's how it is at the range too with you.
Yeah, very much so.
Dude, I try to keep everyone, I try to keep a good pace. I try to push guys way out of their comfort zones, because there's no point in coming to my course that you can perform well at. You better be learning every time. And if you know you can take on a drill or a concept well, push outside your limit. Start at 55, progress to 75, push to 100%, and then failure, because you don't learn anything without a miss. You don't learn anything without completely screwing up and understanding hey, this is the speed I need to go
100%.
to accurately engage downrange.
100%.
Yeah, I mean that's I've been shooting for about 20 some years, and I think the internet and social media has actually helped in some ways keep people accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, like 20 years ago, there were no influencers, there were no
Social media
showing that, shaming people for being these FUD instructors and whatnot. And you're totally right. The red shirt NRA instructors were just, down on people, and there's no one to keep them accountable. So as a student, I took courses way back then, and you leave intimidated. You leave with a little bit of knowledge, but you're like, I didn't really get to do much. I just got yelled at the whole time. What do I do? So I think nowadays, I think that's one benefit I think for the firearms industry is there's this healthier sense of accountability, which has been great. I'm curious. Maybe you can talk about what's the meaning behind the name Achilles heel.
Oh yeah.
Oh, dude. So Achilles Heel Tactical was started with 3 guys, just dudes that I met in the police academy. The guy who came up with the name couldn't, fulfill his role within the company, so he didn't, join. But he came up with the name. He's like, "Hey Rick, what do you think about Achilles Heel Tactical? It's not taken. I've searched it." And, I was like, "Okay." And I think the basically the mission would be, exploit weakness. And he was like, yes. So we kind of like collaborated on that. And I was like thinking, everyone wants to train and practice what they're good at because they want to look good. They want to perform well on Instagram in front of, friends and family. But, if you don't exploit your weakness or accept and understand your weakness, both, and it translates both in life off the range as it does on the range. We're on duty and off duty.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Knowing what your weakness is and then focusing on how to tackle that weakness to make it a strength, or tackle that weakness so that you can at least, increase, performance and stuff like that. I'm big on performance on demand. You're only worth you know, when you leave the range, that's all well and good if you're shooting well. But when you get onto the range, run a performance on demand standard drill so that you can kind of see where you're at every time you leave your house, because this isn't the range. And, you know, every time you leave this studio or every time you leave to head to work, you know, you're only worth that first round.
Yeah.
And non-intended or intended target is what it's going to hit. And you never know when it's going to happen. So performance on demand is a big thing. But not to get off topic, Achilles heel tactical, again, was started by 3 and went down to 2. With the 2, man, there's always going to be some kind of, in this, you know, this space, kind of like small business, you know, small business owner, wannabe entrepreneur. I don't have any kind of background in any kind of business, man. I've just looked at how to monetize things as free as I can. Networking has been something I found a hidden skill with, networking with companies. And it's kind of, I saw all the effort I was putting in, and I asked the guy, I said, look, you know, there's a lot of effort on my part. There's a lot of effort on your part. But that, you know, after 2 years, we decided, hey, let's take it, man. Take it and run with it, because that's the only way it's going to grow. So he stepped down. I assumed 100%, and, you know, it's been that way ever since. But, yeah, Achilles heel tactical was, you know, started by a guy who just came up with a name. I liked the name. I came up with that, you know, exploit weakness, exploit every opportunity to train, to grow, and strengthen that weakness, and that's where it all began.
Nice.
Thanks for that. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Stories like that always have a good beginning.
Yeah.
But I mean, even now the outcome, now you got a bunch of people coming through to your range courses, you know? And it's crazy that, like, yeah, like you said, I mean, you got the same people coming out, and it just goes based off, like, the relationship you built, you know? So.
Well, it's got a little cult following out here now.
Oh, yeah,
Every
for
time
sure.
you have a class, it sells
Yeah.
out, man.
It's crazy because, like, you know, that is a direct representation of, you know, everyone's teaching the same things. It's like, hey, I want to learn how to play guitar. Well, you can look up on Yelp, you can look up on anyone's list and see, hey, these are the guitar players. They're all going to teach you how to drum the same chords, right? Same with shooting. We're all going to teach you the same fundamentals. It's the way that we, you know, present those fundamentals. It's the way that we articulate and demonstrate those fundamentals, because I could articulate the whole concept, but there's 3 different, you know, learning styles, adult learning styles, and if I don't, you know, appease all those adult learning styles, man, you don't learn. So I have to, you know, not just appease the visual, you know, the kinetic learners and, you know, the auditorial learners. I have to, you know, do all 3. So that's the total package. So if you're going to a course, you're going to an instructor who's never demonstrating anything. He's only verbally, you know, describing how to, and, you know, putting on a PowerPoint what those fundamentals look like. You should probably seek someone who's actually seeking to perform for you and, you know, really reinforce that concept of fundamentals. That's all it is, man. But someone said it best that, you know, when I was going through the police academy, an instructor had said it best. He's like, you know, he's a former private military contractor, a guy I really respect. And he's like, you know, nobody will remember, they might not remember what you taught them that day. They might not, you know, ever remember that lesson that was to be had, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
is huge. So I saw that because California was my first outside of Ohio training ever.
Yeah.
I do law enforcement training for a week with Action Target, my main sponsor, in Utah.
Yeah.
So I went out there and I was like, you know, let's go out to California. So Ryan Anderson, hit me up and was like, I got a range for you out here, man. I got a lot of guys. I fill your course. I was like, I'll give it a shot. You know, I came out, I did it, and it was solid. And, you know, the second time I came out, like that, dude, filled up. And I was like, man, so that piece that he gave me, you know, that advice is, they'll always remember how you made them feel. Yeah. Like, that is super, super important to make, you know, because, again, everyone's teaching the same stuff. The fundamentals haven't changed. They're never going to change. Yeah. Ways to get to those fundamentals and understand and comprehend and, you know, demonstrate those fundamentals are going to be determined on the instructor or determined on the class. Yeah. Something I did with the performance rifle and pistol course is peer-to-peer critiques, breaking that course up into 2 relays and making you now give critiques to Dan. You know, so Charles is watching Dan, and he's watching everything just as I'm watching everything. But instead of me pitching it to Dan, hey, this is what you're doing wrong, this is what you need to do, now Charles is doing it. It's well received. It's peer-to-peer critique, and he's understanding it better. It's kind of like in math, dude. I was never good at math, but a student would, you know, kind of explain something and show me on paper, and I would understand it better than the teacher up there on a dry erase board. So same concept.
Yeah, that's dope, man. How long has Achilles been around again?
Since 2017, so third year. Yeah, but
That's
the growth, man. Again, I do this part-time, full-time law enforcement, firearms instructor, and I do a lot of firearms training for law enforcement year-round, and then to get out and do this traveling and training, it really took off in 2020. Part of that is to, you know, my networking and social media marketing capability, and that was found by, you know, complete incident of just wanting to train more. Like, it's honestly that's what it comes down to. A lot of guys wanted to get together, they wanted to train, and we all wanted to do it at a peer level, whether, you know, they were prior student or prior mentor or whatever. We all just wanted to meet up and do some training. So, you know, I started Ohio Range Day in 2019, and dude, that was a huge marketing stunt. Just let me see how many, you know, companies I can bring in, how many shooters I can bring in, instructors I can bring in, and keep it all, you know, at one location and do it all. You know, I've been to SHOT Show, I've been to LETC, I've been to, you know, OTOA, Ohio Tactical Officers Association here in Ohio, and you see kind of how everything's balanced and everything's done. And, you know, when you go to SHOT Show, you go to a range day, it's like, you know, the guns are laid there, they hand you a mag of, you know, 10 rounds, you shoot it, but you really don't get to understand the gun, or you don't really get to know the company. So I wanted to be able to provide, you know, regular dudes, and this isn't an IG influencer clout thing, it's, you know, regular dudes who are safe, proficient shooters, the ability to have that opportunity, because not everyone gets that opportunity at SHOT Show or to go to SHOT Show. So, you know, I get guys, we do training in the morning with, you know, credentialed instructors. One, it's to, you know, market my company and my training so that I can now have contacts all over the states. So I can hit up Charles now. I can hit up, you know, my buddy in Miami. I can hit up a guy in Texas and say, hey, listen, dude, I'm wanting to put a course on. And he's like, dude, I got a spot I can put you up at. You can fly into here. I got your range locked down. Cool. My sponsors are going to send you my targets and ammo. Everything that's left over, it's yours. And that's what I've been doing ever since. And it's a good, healthy, you know, you get the course free. You've been hosting me. And it all started with Mark and Ryan setting that up. You know, I hit up Mark and I was like, hey, could you pick me up from the airport? Absolutely, dude, I got you. We got to get you down here. And I'm like, dude, I've never met Mark. I'm going to stay at his place. And I'm going to run this course. And I'm like, it's so cool to see how this community is so tight. But like I tell guys in, you know, at Ohio Range Day, you come here, you don't know, you maybe came here with one guy, two guys, you might know a couple guys via IG and social media and stuff like that. But when you leave, dude, you have 60 dudes that you are tight with because of the reason of I have to get on the range first thing and train. And the guy next to me, I've never shot with. The guy to the right and left, I've never shot with before. And now I'm shooting that instantaneous trust forms, and that dude, it's a bond that lasts forever. And that's part of building the community that I'm so stoked about. And I want to start taking it everywhere. I want to dedicate, you know, a space just for law enforcement because of that divide. Maybe I can motivate some guys or get the younger generation GWAT guys, pre-GWAT guys, you know, highly motivated to continue a legacy of, you know, professional performance on, you know, with the 1% of their job, which is, you know, taking and protecting with a firearm.
So many good things that he just laid on there. I can't even like cover them all, but a couple of things I wanted to bring up to surface is exactly what you just said about 2A, the whole 2A community. The misconception is that we're crazy. Dude, it's such a small community, and everybody, I have experiences, it feels like we got each other's backs, or we're a community that supports one another. Right. You know, when you become a part of the community, you start to understand that stereotypes is just, that's all there was, is stereotypes. There's real cool guys here that would love to teach you how to do what they do, or you to them. And that for me has been so refreshing because I come in there as just a blank individual. I'm nobody. I'm here to learn.
Yeah.
And every time I've been given the gift of learning, of learning a new skill. And every time I come out of a class, especially one of yours, I just become automatically more proficient, you know?
Yeah.
And another thing too is like, dude, besides Jedi, you know Jedi?
Yeah.
Besides Jedi, he's the only dude I know that has done this type of, I'm not going to say marketing, but business model, where you fly to different places and you teach and you sprinkle a little bit of Rick here, a little bit of Rick there, and all of a sudden you have like this huge community and you're bringing all of us together. You know what I mean? I think now more than ever, we need more of that. And with the power of social media and connecting and networking, bro, I think you guys are doing something special here, man.
Yeah.
You guys are doing
Definitely
something
something
really special here, man.
I after Ohio Range Day, I had a guy in the tech industry reach out to me, and he said, "Hey, man, I saw you know, what you did in Ohio with your event. I'm from the tech industry. Basically, what you're doing is opening the gateway for guys like me to want to,
Absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
insert
100%.
my experience of owning several businesses, several patents, and then look at how I can help you grow or help this event grow and
Dude,
or invest and
so
stuff like
beautiful.
that." And it is cool to see that and experience that. And then on the flip side, dude, he's got so much experience coming from the tech industry
Yeah.
of how to, because everyone in my industry is doing dumb business when it comes to,
Yeah.
I'm not even joking, because
Yeah.
I didn't go to school for this. I'm not a web designer.
Yeah.
You know, using the simple platforms like Wix or Shopify,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not getting the SEO.
Yeah.
It's not getting the stuff that, you know, really grows a business like
Yeah.
overnight. It makes you
Yeah.
money while you sleep and draws
Absolutely.
customers using Google and stuff like that. So he was like explaining all this to me and explaining, you know, deficiencies that he sees and that
Yeah.
this, that, and the other. And I was like, this is mind blowing. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
But I get what you're explaining to me. He started a forum. I think it's called Pew Pew Training, but basically he takes and pulls from like Bear Solutions, CAGWorks. He takes from, you know, Scott Jedlinski. He takes all these highly credentialed instructors and brings them into one forum. So instead of, you know, I need to go to, you know, I got an opening in my schedule in August. Oh, let me check out COGWorks. Then let me go to Jedlinski. Then let me go to, you know, CCT. Then let me go to Rick. Instead, you just go to his thing and it shows you all the instructors' courses for August, and you can
That's
pick on it. And I was like,
dope.
tech industry, dude. So he has benefited the community by not being that A-type personality asshole.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
that he met.
Absolutely.
You know, and he said, he's like, first time, I got into it. I'm a little tougher than most tech guys. He's like, I got into it, met that guy, and it was like just this huge turnoff. I didn't let it deter me. I sought out, you know, guys like you. I saw your IG page and how you're not this, you know, stuck up guy based off of past credentials that are obsolete now.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically, you're still performing promise, and you're not promising performance. And I preach that everywhere I go, man. It's like, no matter where you go, whether it's buying a new car, whether it's, you know, in entrepreneurship, and you're talking with a company that wants to hedge your marketing, it's like, we're going to promise you all of this, right? And then that promise falls short. Instead, perform the promise that I expect you to do, and basically the results will speak for itself.
Right.
And when he saw that, that's what kind of brought him back into the industry, and he's benefited the industry because of it.
That's dope,
awesome.
man. That's dope.
Yeah, it's huge.
I mean, I know you say you didn't go to college and you didn't go to school for this, but I sense a little bit of entrepreneurship in you, man. Because everything that you're
Trial and
talking
error,
about,
man.
dude, I'm telling you, the language that you're using
Yeah.
is what entrepreneurs use. And you're able to use your gut, your instinct to bring your business to light. Because like you said, a lot of people look at your IG or they look at your stories and they're like, man, this dude is dope, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's very well curated. I mean, not to get into the whole business aspect of your business, but yeah, it's very well curated, and you know, you develop a cult following in these little pockets of states, you know, and it's becoming one huge community.
Story branding, man.
Yeah.
Story branding.
And the story that you just spoke about with the guy, I mean, dude, that's a part of your following now, and it's
Right.
benefited you and as well as the whole community.
Right.
You know, I mean, shit, dude, I know that you said that you do this part-time,
Yeah.
and you're still LE full-time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, bro, what is your schedule like, man?
So the schedule, man, it falls. Let's preface this to how it used to be, right?
Yeah.
So to get into the health and wellness of my lifestyle, dude, it was, let's put it this way, it was not sustainable. But because of my, you know, personality and being taught in the military, hey, your mental will always surpass your physical, right? Well, I found out that was wrong back in 2019 in October when I had a heart attack at 28 years old. So, that was a huge, awakening, kind of like, hey, dude, you're not immortal. And regardless of what you've done, what you think, being an Iron Man don't matter. Like, you're brought, that humble card was brought, dude. So that was like a wake-up call. And again, the lifestyle I was living, to be a sole provider for my family, it was working night shift, 12 hours. It would be like Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all 12s. The next week would be my light week, Wednesday, Thursday, one being an 8-hour shift. So that was my schedule, on top of running on the weekends. I had off running courses, on the weekdays in between running, private lessons or whatever I could get in at first. And then, I started picking up school contracts because school shootings became such a fad. Sad as it is, and how, disgusting it was to make money off of public education. It's a sad fact that, there's millions of dollars in this industry now because they're looking to protect the livelihood of our future. So it is needed. But there's a lot of great programs. There's a lot of bad programs. And, I developed my proactive response team program based off of, hey, listen, I'm not asking you to be a hero. You shouldn't be seeking to be a hero. You shouldn't be overzealous at all in this job. Your job is to be the eyes and ears and to be the first responders via communication and mindset, situational awareness to understand and locate and identify these types of, instances. They do happen. And if you could prevent and be proactive and prevent this from happening, perfect. We had a school shooting close to me. Luckily, the only person, the kid ended up shooting himself. I mean, unfortunately, everything's unfortunate with kids shooting kids or kids shooting themselves. But at the same point, like, a kid walked in with a .22 long rifle in his pants.
Wow.
And I was just thinking, I'm like, can't walk normal with a rifle strapped to your leg. So I was thinking about, and he's, if you walk in the main entrance, you pass several students, you pass several teachers, administration, whatever, and you got to walk peg-legged, right? So I was thinking, I'm like, how many people saw this and didn't raise an eyebrow, and let him get all the way into the bathroom, load the .22, and then just by chance and by miracle, a student walk in, see him drop the gun and run out and get help, right? By chance, but he could have caused a mass, catastrophe there at the school. So, I explained to them, you're not there to kill kids. You are there to be proactive and respond. And as soon as that proactiveness turns into responsiveness, your job is to cordon off, contain, and mitigate casualty, and then get, locate an area that law enforcement can then take over, so that law enforcement, the trained professionals, the guys who are backed by the state and the government, can now do their job. And it's been a very successful program. I picked up, multiple contracts under different school districts and stuff like that. So that got me even busier, right? So now, again, back to my lifestyle. I was working, nights, law enforcement, days being a husband and a father, and then days with being, so there were times that I would work Saturday or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all 12s, and then roll straight into a school course, which would be like 8 to 2.
Jesus.
And then I would head straight to bed, and then that's without court, dude. So like in the the weeks, I would work a 12-hour shift on Monday and then have court at 8. So I get off at 6, literally drive home, sleep for 30 minutes, drive back, or just crash in my truck or crash at the police station, get dressed, go to court, and then go home, sleep, and then get back up for work the next day. So, dude, a lot of bipolar, sleep cycles.
Don't know what time of day it is.
Exactly. So, I mean, down to like blackout curtains and everything. And then kids, I had young kids, man, at the time. So, with my kids being young, if say it was Sunday, right? I just worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all 12s. Luckily I didn't have court on Monday, hypothetically speaking. And then I get home, I get to bed, right at 6:10, 6:20 a.m. And I start sleeping by 11, dude. running, screaming, you know,
Oh, man.
hollering, toys crashing, you know, stuff like that. So,
Oh, man.
you know, 5 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours was probably the norm every single night, if that. So that became the new norm for me. So we got lack of sleep, we got high stress, and then we got, you know, what are we supplementing all that, you know, lack of sleep for?
Yeah.
And it turned into, you know, resorting back to my ways back in the military of this plague of, you know, using synthetic energy and energy drinks, man. Like I've told you guys, like sometimes it wasn't just to stay awake. Sometimes it was to stay motivated at night, you know, to hunt warrants or hunt, you know, drug interdiction and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So instead of using that just to stay awake, I was using it to stay motivated.
Yeah.
It took a toll on my body, and finally it caught up with me.
So how long were you in this cycle of lifestyle? Was it like a year, 6 months, 2 years?
With the law enforcement and everything.
Yeah,
3
like
years.
with what you just said. 3 years of
Yeah.
this? 4 to 5 hours of sleep?
Yeah.
And running on fumes?
And then working.
Holy
yeah.
shit, dude. I honestly, I thought it was like 6 months a year. You were just like redlining for 6 months, and that would kill anybody, you
and
know?
that's what you just said, redlining. I mean, that is exactly it. That redlining of,
Oh my
like
God.
you said, you buy a car and you redline it from the day you drive it off the lot till the day it, you know, dies. Eventually it dies, and you shorten that lifespan.
Yeah.
So
Tell us a little bit more about that life-changing moment or that period.
yeah.
Like,
So October 12th, 2019, I go into this course just like any other course, waking up early, heading out to the range. This was a gunfighter fitness course, so I just ran this out
more
here.
stress.
I just ran this out here in California 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And that was the first time since this event.
No shit.
Yeah, so not even a whole year goes by, I'm back running that course. So it's not something that I knew. It wasn't the exercise. It wasn't the, you know, cardiovascular taxing or physical, you know, exertion that was, you know, part of it. I mean, it definitely was part of it, but it's not what was holding me back.
Yeah.
I've always been someone that's just, you know, 100% at everything I do. And I wanted to run that course again out here, and it's not like, you know, my wife's saying, don't be doing all the crazy stuff. And I demo everything. Charles has been training with me for over a year. You know, Dan's seen it. I demo everything, even down to getting, you know, the jiu-jitsu guys out there and me not having anything but a military martial arts background and just getting worked by jiu-jitsu guys. You know, it's like, I don't want to do that. But at the same point, how am I going to ask you to do it without me doing it first? So October 12th, you know, 2019, I go into the day. I go up to, you know, the 7-Eleven or whatever, get gas, grab my 16-ounce Red Bull. I head off to the range, right? Get to the range, we're setting up. I'm feeling great. Like, I'm ready to go. It's first time running this course. Howitzer Clothing came out, sponsored it, just like they did for California. And we're doing the course, running it. We start at, you know, 8, get to about 11:30 right before lunch. And I just had demoed that flat tire drill where we have to, or I'm sorry, the dead man walking drill. We have to do the deadlifts, the kettlebells, the malfunctions, working, you know, critical skill development. So I'm doing all that. I absolutely, you know, destroy the demonstration. I, you know, go over my piece and make sure everyone has total understanding. And while I'm going over that, I'm keeping my charisma and my composure and everything. And out of nowhere, I just feel weird, like really weird. So I'm like looking at my bicep and like up in my brachial artery on my left arm, up into my armpit, it's just throbbing. And I'm like, this is weird. So I pass it off. I go grab some Gatorade, put the Red Bull down, go grab the Gatorade and start hydrating because I'm like, maybe I'm just dehydrated. I pulled a muscle, whatever. I have my assistant instructors start running it. They get the guys through it, and you know, I'm still hurting. I walk down range and I'm like, debrief, keep my composure when I'm in front of my students. And then next thing I know, you know, one of the guys is an EMT. He's like, hey, let me get your, you know, your blood pressure read and stuff like that. So now we're going on, you know, it started around 11:30. And then the first read was like, hey, everything's coming back normal. You know, if it continues, all I have is Advil, or I'm sorry, aspirin. I don't have any nitro with me, so he's like, let me give you some aspirin, and we'll see how you feel after that. So, you know, we're still running the course. It gets to about lunchtime, and, you know, my arm is hurting. So
Wow.
I'm like, well, shoot. And then I start feeling sick, like I'm going to vomit. So now I'm like, my headspace is out of whack, right? I'm thinking, dude, could this be a heart attack? And now I'm having like panic attacks. I'm thinking maybe it could be a panic attack for a pulled muscle. Thinking it's but I got so many things going on in my mind. I'm just like, what is this? So I, you know, listened to my buddy who was the EMT. He's like, dude, send the guys to lunch. We'll get a squad here. They'll check you out, hook you up to an EKG. We'll just rule out the heart attack. I was like, cool, let's do it. So he sends them to lunch. And I didn't even want the range to know. I didn't want the guys to come back from lunch early and see me in a squad. So I told the squad, I said, meet me down the road at a Dollar General. So we drive away from the range, get to the Dollar General. They load me up in a squad, hook me up to EKG. EKG says I'm fine. They said, hey, man, everything's coming back normal. I'm like, thank God. You know, it's not a heart attack. So they were like, well, we would really like to take you in and do blood work. We need to figure out, you know, what else is, it could be an underlying cause, right? I was like, dude, I got a course to run. These guys, you know, paid to be here. I'm not going to short them. I said, let me run the rest of the course. They were like, we really advise you not to do that. And I'm like, I get the whole spiel, dude. I'm in law enforcement. Like, I'll sign my life away, whatever I need to do. I'm going to refuse treatment. So I get out of the squad, drive back, go meet the boys and the students at Chipotle. I pound a burrito. head back.
Fucking guy.
Head back to the range. I got some mental condition of relief, you know. Cause
He
said it's not a heart attack.
peace of mind.
EKG said it's
Peace of
good,
mind.
right? I got some peace of mind now, finally. I'm thinking it's just a panic attack. I really tore a muscle or something. And we continue training, and I keep my composure for the articulation point, and then demonstration, and then we run the drill and do the workout, etc. You know, and dude, like 3 hours go by in the afternoon, and I'm just like, now I'm, you know, like I'm in so much pain. Like my arm is above my head 24/7. After I'm done demonstrating, the class turns around, and I'm like, like just trying to keep this arm stretched because I'm thinking I pulled a muscle still. Then I start feeling sick again, and I'm like, this is weird. Jeez. This is too weird. Now my chest starts to hurt, and I have to hold my arm. So I'm walking around the range just like this. I'm just holding my arm, and it sucked. It was bad, and I was just like, I gotta get through this. Well, 4:30 rolls around, dude. Now it's excruciating pain. So from 11:30 to 4:30, I literally cut the course short an hour, and I said, guys, help me pack up my trailer, my targets, everything, and I got to get to the hospital. I'm gonna drive to the ER. So everyone like cooperated. They've seen me. They've been, you know, it would be stupid to say they're not, you know, after the demonstration looking behind, making sure you know Rick's okay.
You're right.
It's now it's known. It's known across the board that there's something wrong with me.
Right.
So the guys, you know, were super quick to get everything loaded back up, super helpful. I take off, right? I'm on the turnpike, heading back home, which I'm an hour and a half away from home.
Jeez. I
call Haley, and I tell her, I'm like, babe, I'm like screaming at her. I'm like, I'm in so much pain. I think I'm having a heart attack. I need to get to the ER. I've got all these guns, all these targets, all this stuff in here. And she's like, what are you thinking? Just go to the hospital there. I'm like, I'm in Cleveland. I was like, I got all these guns. I got night vision. I got all this stuff with me. I'm not parking in Cleveland. Like, just me being me, man. I'm like, I got to get home where my stuff will be safe, and then I'll go to the hospital. So stupid thinking, man. And I'm running out of gas, going 95 miles an hour. I've got my arm pinned against the door of my 4Runner, and I'm driving like this, swerving in and out of lanes, right?
Yeah.
And running out of gas. I've been on that light on empty for a while, and I'm looking for a sign. I'm just looking for a sign that says gas, right? Mm-hmm. Well, my map says I'm getting off at this exit. I look at the exit, it says there's gas. The next sign I see is level 3 trauma center, the same exit I'm getting off. I was like, if this isn't a sign, if I ignore this sign, I'm probably gonna die. Dude, I'm praying now. I'm like freaking out. I'm praying. I'm like, God, please don't let me die. Please don't let me die right now. And like, cause it's bad, dude. I mean, I've waited all this long.
Chest is still hurting. Or
Dude,
just the arm.
he's having a heart attack for like 5+ hours, dude.
It was terrible. It was excruciating. So now I get to the toll. I get to the guy. I'm like, hey, where's the nearest hospital? He's like, just 5 minutes down that way. I'm like, all right, cool. Pay the toll, get through, go get gas, filled up the 4Runner, take off to the hospital, get to the hospital, walk in the ER. They hook me up to the EKG, and they say, well, EKG looks fine.
What the
like,
hell?
You're insane, man. You're insane. I'm not in this amount of pain for nothing.
Yeah.
Go way out in the waiting room. We'll get you back. So, dude, I want to say it's 20 minutes, or 25, but it felt so much longer. It felt like an eternity. I'm holding my arm over my head, on my side, just pinning it against my chest, holding it like this because I'm in so much pain.
Yeah.
Pacing back and forth. And the lady, the nurse or whatever, triage nurse, she's just watching me. And she's like putting her head down like she's, looking at her phone or whatever. And every time I look at her, she, head just dives down back into she's like watching me but not watching me.
Yeah.
And I'm like pacing back and forth like a zombie, dude. I'm the only one in that waiting room. And then finally I just said, I gotta lay down. And I was like, so I laid down on the bench, facing away from her, and she comes up, taps me on the shoulder. She's like, honey, we gotta get you back. I'm like you didn't just watch me pace. Insane pain for like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Whatever. Got me back. I don't remember too much when I got back there other than the doctor came in. I explained what's going on with me, how long it's been going on. And he gives me tramadol and some other anti-inflammatory. Dude, the pain's gone. I was like, thank God, it's a pulled muscle, right?
Yeah.
Haley's already on her way. Grandparents watch the kids and stuff. She's on her way up. I pass out. Next thing I know, I wake up to her. She's there at the hospital. The doctor comes in. He's like, hey, we pulled your labs, this, that, and the other. We sent him to a cardiologist. The cardiologist isn't in. He's at his house, but we sent it off to him. He'll review it and let us know what to do. So the cardiologist at the hospital that I went to looked at my results, and then next thing I hear is that he's on his way in. I'm like,
oh, that's not good.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Right?
He's coming from home.
Right.
From home.
So he comes in from home, and I meet him for the first time. And Dr. Kyrus, and the guy is just an absolute saint. He saved my life. So huge props to that guy. He said, listen, man, you have a little flare up on your EKG. The reason they didn't see it is because they're not a cardiologist.
Right.
He said, I sent your EKG to 20 other cardiologists in the area. They said after they treated me for pain, they would have sent me home. He said, after reviewing your labs, your troponin levels are skyrocketing. The troponin is an enzyme that your heart gives off when it's in distress. So he wanted to look into that a little bit more. So he came in. So they pull labs again. They go back. He's like, usually I get worried when you're, at a 4 or 5. He's like, you're at an 8.
Holy
and we're gonna draw them again to make sure that that's an accurate reading. He said they went up, so it went past 8. He didn't give me a number. He just said it went up. So he gets a echocardiogram out. He starts putting that gel and stuff and goes over my chest, and he gets over to like underneath my armpit area, and he stops, looks at me, and he's like, do you smoke? I said no. He's like, okay, well, I wasn't too sure what was going on, beforehand, but now I'm 50-50 that you're having a massive heart attack.
Holy
When did this start? I'm like, 11:30. Wow. He looks at his watch and takes off. Like, no words, takes off running out of the room that I was in, and comes back in with nurses and waivers. And dude, next thing I know, he's telling me and Haley basically I need a heart cath. I need to sign this waiver stating if I were to die. He's explaining, you could have seizures, you could have this, that, the other during this procedure, but we have to do this procedure now. And so he gets me back there. Next thing I know, dude, I'm getting, stripped down, and I'm, on the OR table. They go and they do a heart cath, and they went up through my radial artery, so I have 2 little scars there. They go up through the radial artery, up through here and into my heart, right? Ooh. So with a scope, they saw that there was 100% blockage in my LAD. So he's like, he I remember being awake, even though they pumped me with fentanyl. I remember like being in and out. And he's like, "Hey, buddy." I'm like looking up. I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" He's like, "You see this right here?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "That's your LAD, where it should be. It's non-existent on this ginormous screen that they have." He's like, using a cursor. He said, "This is where your LAD should be. Right now, it's completely blocked." He said, "It literally just sucks it out, and all of a sudden, a lightning bolt artery just appears." He's like, "You had 100% occlusion in your LAD." He's like, "You had a widowmaker heart attack." He's like, "That's literally what happens to, Ironman marathon athletes who drop dead at the finish line. They just red line, and then their heart is taxed and stressed so much, it just gives out, right. and whatnot." So it could be a pre-existing condition, could be genetics, all this stuff that goes into that. But he was explaining to me that it was just the blood clot. He's trying to diagnose, how it could have happened. Well, this is now I find out that I have a hole in my heart called a PFO. And he's like, maybe I had a blood clot somewhere where I was hit or something, and it traveled up to my heart on one of the ventricles, passed through that hole into the other ventricle, causing the heart attack. Well, he said that he's going to pump me full of blood thinners because he wasn't able to clean it all the way out. But it was good enough for that day, and he didn't want to risk, because this is like a 30-minute procedure. Jesus. And I asked Haley how long I was in there, and she's like, at least an hour and a half. I was like, oh shit. So he was in, working in there for a long time trying to clean this out. So he said, "I don't want to risk, you having a seizure or anything, crazy. So we're going to stop today. We're going to put you on blood thinners the next day, keep you in the ICU, and then we're going to do another heart cath. We'll go back in and we'll clean it out the day after we pump you full of blood thinners." So they clear all that out. I get pumped full of blood thinners. The next day I go into, the next heart cath. They go in through the second hole there, up through my radial artery again, and they find this plaque. This plaque is built up only in my LAD. So the main artery, the widowmaker, right? The other arteries are crystal clean. He's like, I can't give you a definite answer of why, because usually when we see people with bad cholesterol, we see it in all arteries. Like all 3 arteries are, plugged, or we need to put stents in all of them, right? You only have a plaque in this one, spot in your artery, in your LAD. He's like, we have to put in a stent. So they put in a stent and, come out and give me all of my paperwork, my serial number for my stent, and all this, that, and the other, explaining to me that I'm going to have to be on medication for all of this now. And it's, the rest is history, dude. But I was super humbled when he said, he sent my results, my EKG, off to 20 other colleagues of his in the area, and they all said they would have sent me home. He's like, if I would have sent you home that day, you would have died at the wheel. He's like, if you didn't come, listen to that sign, and you would have attempted to drive home, you would have passed out, crashed, and died at the wheel. He said, you were redlining on top of redlining. He's like, I don't know why you didn't come in. And he said, you did some damage to your heart because you were being so stubborn. You didn't come in. So I did my follow-up appointment, 6 months afterwards. I was supposed to get off one of the medications, right? The heart health medications. I go in for another echocardiogram, go back to that side again. She's sitting there forever. And give the results to the cardiologist. He explains to me, he's like, man, the front wall of your heart's still not working, fully. I'm like, dude, now I'm just, devastated. I'm like, how am I supposed to be able to do the things I was, was doing? Right. He's like, you're young, you should bounce back from this. Well, I didn't. And I'm like, that's when it kind of sunk in that, hey, lifestyle has to change, and it has to change now. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. So I'm still working on the progression with the heart health. I'm still working on, keeping a good, sustainable, consistent, like I preach in my courses, consistency with that diet, nutrition, health and wellness, lifestyle that I'm trying to live now. But it's a struggle every day for sure. The energy drinks have been non-existent ever since. I won't drink them ever again. Not saying that that's what caused it. We're trying to figure out what caused that plaque, and the plaque that erupted, caused the 100% occlusion blood clot. My body just did that naturally out of defense. I'm trying to figure out all the whys, and it's just, the cardiologist wants to say, he's like, it's a freak thing that happened. You need to change your lifestyle. when it could be a little bit of genetics. My grandmother, not till later in life, but she had bypass surgeries and heart complications and stents. So it could be a little bit of genetics, but the lifestyle, the stress, he couldn't put enough on stress, dude. The stress and the sleep, and those are two, one and the other. So that was a big thing that I had to change. I eliminated the energy drinks. He's like, from now on, it's just 1 cup of coffee a day, and then look at alternatives if you need other things. And with military experience, I don't know too many guys who get out of the military and don't have some sort of anxiety, some sort of depression. Law enforcement guys have some sort of anxiety. You're held to this high standard, and then by a profession, then you're held to another standard by your duty to public, and then the media holds you to another standard, keeps you accountable for things that, and then you got bureaucratic things. Like, there's just lots of, you're pulled in all different directions in law enforcement. A lot of politics that are involved. And so anxiety is a huge thing.
Very.
I can only imagine.
I mean, so many. Listen to that, I just like my jaw was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say, bro.
Yeah.
To be honest, because that's the first time I heard it in full.
Right.
And
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I know a lot of the guys that know you still don't know the full story, and to hear it like that, like, it's not only is it amazingly stupid, but amazing at the same time. Bro, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I don't want to make this about me, but goddamn.
Yeah.
We're blessed to still have you here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
But holy shit, dude.
Yeah,
you were having a heart attack for 5+ hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Someone
after
was
I got
watching you
into
that night
OR,
for
it was
sure.
like 6 hours. And it
Jesus
did a lot of
Christ.
damage to my heart. When I got out, it was operating at 45%. Now I'm at 50, so it didn't bounce back like I thought it was going to.
Jeez.
Full operation 60% to give you kind of some spectrum on that. But the mentality of your mental will always outlast your physical. Like, that's what I left the Marine Corps with. All the torture stuff I did to my body, knowing that, hey, this is gonna fail before this fails.
Yeah.
That's wrong. It's wrong to push that. I get it. Like, when you're in the military, you're at your peak, you're at your prime, you think you're invincible, and but the lifestyle, the wellness, like you said, if you're redlining that entire time, how sustainable is that? It's not. It truly isn't. And unfortunately, that's a huge thing, is energy drinks nowadays, and especially in this industry. Everywhere you see an influencer at a range, you see a Monster, a Red Bull, a Reign, a Bang, all these other energy drinks, and it's just like,
Trying to get him off that shit.
synthetic, dude.
Lots of Cali. That's why people move to California. Lower stress.
Yeah.
I mean, you think we got riots right now.
We got all kinds of stuff.
But I mean, I just kind of want to just do a little follow-up question, which is, I know you said you changed your lifestyle, but I'm curious to know, like, what have you done to manage your stress, and is your schedule still the same, like with the sleep and the range and work? And
immediately, once I got off light duty, I went back to work, and my work worked with me. I mean, I had everyone from the PD and everyone who knew me come in and visit me and stuff like that, and they were like, take your time, seriously, take your time. Well, take your time, dude, when you're stressed out at home because you just had a heart attack, you're trying to recover, and you got screaming kids, you got everything going on. It's like, I'm actually more stressed being here, I feel, than I am at work. So let me get back to work. So I wasn't on light duty for very long, actually. As soon as I could clear with the cardiologist, dude, I was back to work. There's a lot of risk me being back to work because I'm still on all these blood thinners. If I was to get in a fight, I was to get hit in the head, a car accident, shot, God forbid, stabbed, God forbid, all these little things, it could be life-threatening, very life-threatening. Something that might be easily survivable with good treatment, immediate treatment, could absolutely kill me. So it's kind of it's one of those things that I'm willing to take the risk, but it's not something that I can't train for. I can't always keep in a good, healthy mindset about the way I changed my life, man. I went immediately back to days. My department worked with me and was like, hey, we're gonna keep you on days. We're gonna try to keep your lifestyle regimented. They understand, they support the department. All the guys love to see what I do, the traveling, the stuff like that, support me in that. And it's been really nice to see them put me on days. You know, I'm working 6A to 6P now. Once I get off, I go to the gym, I work out, I run, I swim, and then, you know, being a family man, husband, father. So there's a lot of titles in life, but honestly, they could all be gone. The only thing that's really important is being, you know, that father and husband. So that's really what I want to be around for. When I talk to a cardiologist, you know, he's like, because I went to the VA, you know, for stuff, and he's like, man, if we don't figure out the underlying cause, you know, you could die before you're 40. And I was like, listen, dude, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. You know, it sucks to say it, but I'll just, you know, say it right here. The doctor asked me, he's like, do you do cocaine? I'm like, no. I said, and this is how I said it. I said, no, I'm a cop. He's like, cops do cocaine. I said, well, I'm not one of those cops. And I explained that to him, and he kind of uses the technique that we use of just be quiet, let your brain stir some other things up, see how you react. And I was like, dude, I don't want to die before I'm 40. I have kids. I would tell you if I was doing cocaine. I would tell you I don't want to die before I'm 40. I want to see my kids grow up. And he's like, okay, let me get you the cardiologist, whatever. You know, because basically they don't see that type of plaque build up in one artery unless you're doing that kind of substance. And I talked to the doctor, and I said, man, I'm in the military. We would get rippets overseas. We would crack a rippet, dump C4 into that rippet, down it like a shot. You know, we'd have to shotgun it because, you know, it's going to foam up and explode. We put all that shit in our system, and then go work out, do our, you know, prison workouts.
Like Mentos and Coke.
We would do all of that stuff, and I'm like, you know, maybe by doing all that on top of the regimented energy drink, synthetic, you know, caffeine, maybe that's what did it. So I can't rule, you know, one way or the other. The doctors can't say it's one thing or the other. But when he brought up cocaine, I was thinking, I'm like, you know, I talked to him. I said, with alcohol, he's like, you gotta low. You know, you can't. I do drink. I socially drink, but I don't drink to excess to get drunk. It's more of like just to ease. You know, ease and be social. So, you know, I told him. I said, you know, back in the day, I mean, it was Red Bull. It would be vodka, Red Bull, and stuff like that. He's like, that combination of that upper and downer is like doing cocaine. And I was like, dude, it's all coming like full spectrum as far as when he asked me, you know, do you do cocaine? I was like, shit. You know, one of my favorite things was to do Red Bull, vodka, and this stuff. And he's like, that, you know, chemical-wise, what it taxes your heart is like doing cocaine. I'm like, dude, no way. So there's so much, you know, again, what's tangible, what's intangible. If I'm selling you a teeth whitener, it's tangible because you see the results.
Right.
If I'm saying drink this supplement to substitute this supplement because it's healthy, it's organic, and it's all natural, but I like the carbonation, the sugar, the synthetic caffeine, the chemicals, and this, I'm going to choose this because it's all intangible results, except for me being motivated, me, you know, staying awake, etc. They might both do the job. This one might take a regimented, but it's healthy to regiment, right? And it's sustainable, but this isn't sustainable. It's crazy. And that's why I think it's cool that, you know, I had the opportunity to come out and talk with you guys, learn about your business and learn about your products. Cause I think it's something I need to look into because it's for sure something that's sustainable that I'm looking to exploit because I need it. You know, it's still not a, you know, a kosher life that I live as far as stress-free, as far as getting, you know, good sleep. And I still have broken up sleep cycles and still have, you know, anxiety and stuff like that. It's not absent just because of a life change that from going from nights to days and being on the same schedule throughout the day. And you know, because work as far as Achilles heel tactical and stuff like that has really picked up. Traveling's picked up. You know, stress is still there. It's never gonna not be there.
One thing that I know changed for me when I started shooting was I didn't understand the amount of stress that somebody's under when they're behind a firearm. Let alone releasing that trigger and feeling that inertia. I mean, I can only imagine. I mean, I've told my girlfriend this many times. I told her, like, prior to shooting, the media has this way of framing police officers as, like, at best neutral, at worst your enemy.
Yeah.
Right? And ever since I have been shooting, and I understand the stress and the skill and the responsibility. I told her directly, looked at her in her eye. I was like, babe, I'm sorry about all the times I've been an asshole to cops, because the level of stress that these guys must be going under every day is uncomparable to anything you and I would go through.
Yeah.
Because I'm only under stress when I'm on the range, because I don't want anybody to flag me, right?
Right.
That's nothing. But when you're a police officer, it's like what you said. You can deal with some guy 9 times, know him, know his house, possibly know his family, and then on the 10th time, whatever the hell he has in his mind, made up in his mind, he's going to pull a gun on you, and you have no choice but to draw and possibly put him down.
Right.
I mean, and to further that, I mean, when you're on patrol, I can only imagine the stress that you must go through, because, I mean, naturally, police officers are supposed to find and look for what's wrong in the situation. Not like our civilians. We go out to a restaurant. We what do you want to eat? We want to eat the best thing on the meal. We want to sit next to a nice person. I mean, from a LEO perspective, it's almost like you always got to stay on guard.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine the stress that creates in an environment. And with everything that's going on right now, I mean, for the people that don't know, we got riots in downtown LA yesterday, and possibly coming to downtown San today.
Yeah. San Jose, real bad.
And I mean, that's nuts, man. Cops, it just takes one bad cop. We all know what happened to George Floyd. It just takes one bad. I'm sure he wasn't a bad cop. He just did a shitty thing. I'm sure in that moment of stress, whatever he had made up in his mind made him feel like that was the right thing to do, right? We don't know him. We can't judge him. We can only see what was recorded. And what was recorded, I think we can all agree here, that was pretty shitty, man. It's horrendous. Yeah. And people are rightfully so pissed off. But, I mean, I just wanted to get your perspective, because you're still an active LE. Yeah. And I like you, man. I borderline love you, bro. Yeah. And I would never think I would ever say that about a police officer. But like I said, now I'm behind the firearm. I can only sympathize for what you guys do. But I'm curious to know, like, what is it like to be a police officer nowadays with the social media, with the media on your ass, and with all those expectations you talked about? Right. With bureaucrats, with the community, with the police officers, with your family. Yeah. And you guys don't get paid and rewarded and not glorified is the wrong word, but celebrated enough, because you guys are the first responders, and you guys are the ones that are in our community, which your main job is to protect and serve us. And most of the time, I would say that's the case. Right. There's some cases where, I mean, very little, but there are some rotten apples. But that's not the whole police force as a general.
No, it isn't. And what you said there, before you met me, before you met some other law enforcement officers, you don't know. We're just regular people. We're just looking for a job. We're looking to provide. We're looking for something that relates to what we want to be doing. Some guys never spend any time in the military, and they just they're good problem solvers. They want to be guys who can solve problems. Or nobody gets in the line of law enforcement because they're good shooters. You know what I mean? That's 1% of the job if you ever do it in your entire career. Yeah. But I love getting law enforcement integrated. So many instructors run LE only classes, and it's like, I understand if you're doing a department training, it should be LE only for the entire department, or a sanction of the department with like a SWAT team or something. Yeah. But I love integrating, man. I get law enforcement guys that came out to the performance rifle pistol, from Orange County to, I've trained with some guys out at Bakersfield, and like, they're just locked on, squared away, good dudes. And that's all you want to see. But it's, again, part of building that community is getting the civilian populace to integrate and learn and understand the law enforcement populace. And I explain it both ways. Some instructors have a hard time because they teach so much LEO classes. It's like, well, this applies to LEOs, but civilians, figure it out. It doesn't matter. There's, statute of limitations, and there's, stuff that law enforcement officers are backed. They have a little bit more insurance because they're backed by the government, the state, the municipality, before it falls into a civil lawsuit. To where you, as a responsible CCW holder who's looking and seeking training, regardless of the instance or the any scenario you could think of, a action has to present itself for you to react and defend yourself. Law enforcement or a civilian, you can make it white and black right there. And that's the relationship that you bring into the entirety of the class. So then it breaks down this wall of, I see a sheriff tag, or I see a badge or I see a police or SWAT tag. I'm not training next to that guy. I'm not going to train the way, or I'm not going to watch him and learn something from him because it only applies to law enforcement. It doesn't. It's white and black. An action has to take place before you react, and to defend yourself, to protect the ones you love yourself, stuff like that. With everything that's going on now in law enforcement, with this past incident, from the top down, from the president down to the senators, down to the local municipality, down to the administration of that department, no one supports the actions of those officers. No one. And I don't think anyone in their right mind could support, and even being in law enforcement, in those situations where somebody wants to be difficult, he's in handcuffs. That's your line.
Right.
That's your line you have to walk on, and that's the line of work that you raise your right hand voluntarily you got into, and you worked your ass off to get into that line of work, because it is hard to be a law enforcement officer. Now, some departments are easier, some are more lenient, some are more, you can be subjective all you want. What it comes down to is being a good human being. No one's going to say those officers did the right thing, because they didn't. And that is pretty concrete across the board. Part of use of force boards are, you're evaluated by your peers, and that evaluation of your peers says whether or not it was justified or unjustified, excessive or, within the line of duty. That's excessive, period. Nobody will ever, not agree with that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That being said, Minneapolis, you had a stage. You had a stage set for you to make a difference and to change the world, and you ruined it. You burn it to the ground, literally. You burn it to the ground, literally. There's peaceful demonstrations, and then there's complete anarchy. And you went one extreme. You went from one extreme to the other. Law enforcement went to an extreme that day. You took it to another level. You had a stage made. You could have made a real difference and movement within the population, because you had the attention from the top down, from the president down to administration, down to the civilian level, man. And you didn't do anything with it. What'd you do? You spread violence. And that's what I'm saying right there. That's with, everyone hunting and finding a reason to take your guns. Like all these, I can't believe we have politicians literally saying, I'm going to take your Second Amendment away. I'm going, and saying that one gun doesn't apply to the Second Amendment, but that one does. It doesn't matter, dude. Look at, there's plenty of great public officials, and maybe it's guys who I served with. Maybe it's our place to seek out, and because everyone wants to bash politicians, nobody wants to be them.
Right.
And the people that want to be them want to take your guns away. They're from out of the industry. They're from different industries that don't understand. That's really what it comes down to. It's the unknown, and all they see is what the media presents, and that's violence, gun violence. But look what we have today. It's not gun violence. It's that man was not killed with a firearm.
Correct.
It's violent acts, and violent acts have persisted. So it didn't go from, a shooting to burning city. It went from a violent act to violence nationwide. And I can't believe it's went this route.
I'm glad you're the one to say that, because I totally agree with you. What these civilians are doing in Minneapolis they're doing exactly what people that have been trying to defend them are saying that they would do. And they're not only they're inciting violence. I get the frustration. I get it. There's obviously nobody's talking about that. We're just talking about how the way that the demonstrations were handled.
Right.
They're acting like crazy civilians that are frustrated, rightfully so, but they're just doing it so wrong, because now, like you said, it's going to affect all of us. It's going to affect our Second Amendment rights. It's going to affect, hopefully not so, but maybe the law enforcement in the area are going to be even more on guard to people that are peaceful, to people that are African Americans that are law-abiding citizens, and maybe they might categorize them as oh, this guy's angry, he's frustrated, he might do something to me, so I got to be on guard. And in all instances, it's a vicious cycle, man.
Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle,
Yeah.
and we don't have the answers here. I don't know what to do. I'm sure you're gonna do the best you're gonna do, but it's a cultural phenomenon that still exists in 2020.
Yeah.
In 2020.
Yeah. Will Smith said, he said racism hasn't gotten worse. It's just been filmed.
Correct.
And that is insanely powerful because if racism got worse, then we would see it on the news every single day. There would be something about racism. Well, there isn't. Yeah. There hasn't been violence, a unjustified act done by law enforcement in the public's eye in quite some time. Everything's been central focused around, everything globally, politically, and then into with the coronavirus, like COVID-19. Yeah. And then all of a sudden this one act translates into chaos and anarchy. Yeah. And I'm like, this is, that butterfly effect of violence because of one action. And if you look across the board, insanely influential black people that support the black community, it's insane to see how they're disgusted with the way things have been happening. And if you watch these riots, it's not just black people. It's not just white people.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, it's an entirety of America. Like, we are a melting pot, and it's Americans ruining it for Americans.
Absolutely.
You don't put a race on it because it's not, there's no race, there's no one race in any of the videos I've ever watched.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
The Target video. I mean,
you're absolutely right.
Viral, man. The Target video, you're walking in, the guy videotaping it looks at it, I can't believe this is happening. It's a white guy. It's like, you're not doing anything to stop it either. Yeah. You're not doing, you're just actually encouraging more people to make films and become viral.
Correct.
And looking for the next clout move that I can, it's sickening. It's awful.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you and I and the rest of us can spend a whole week on talking about that subject, right? But I know we took a lot of time. I personally have one other question that I wanted to talk to you about and ask you really in your perspective. And I'll frame it up like this. Anthony, he shoots with me. He's taking your course, I believe. I'm not sure, but he was an ex-LEO, and now he does real estate. He works in the same company as my girlfriend, and he said that when he was a police officer, he slowly started to realize and sense that he was evolving into somebody different. More on the negative side, in the sense where, because the things that he's seen, the things that he's been through, the stress, it changed him as a person. His family had to bring it up and had to tell him, like, hey man, Anthony, like, we see you changing, not for the better. And he noticed that. He was like, you know what, you guys are right. From what he said, he had to take a break. He took a break, and then he went to do commercial residential real estate. He's happy. He's doing fine. He's living a good life. And eventually he wants to get back into it. He wants to be a sheriff again. But my question to you is, how often, or even for you, does it happen to you? Do police officers go through this process where they come out and they want to, out of the academy, they come out and they want to do good?
Yeah.
And they want to change the world. That's why people want to be police officers. They're not doing it because they want to be rich, right? Unfortunately, you guys don't do this to get rich. You just don't. You do it to protect and serve. And how often does it happen where these guys come out and they want to do good, but then they go through these things, they see stuff, and they just automatically evolve and they change and they become like these police officers in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
I guess it's an open-ended question. I don't know if it's a rhetorical question, but
it's the loss of empathy, man. And honestly, these people that volunteer to want to be police officers, they do come, every single one goes to the police academy with good intentions of being hired and making a difference, whether it's in 10 people's lives, one person's life, it doesn't matter. That being said, without my experience overseas and understanding that the things I saw in third world countries, when I first got back from my first deployment, dude, I wanted to hug and embrace every single American I saw. I'm like, dude, this sucks, man. Third world countries are, they suck. Being with Americans, I felt safe. I felt home. And I get in law enforcement, right? And I get through the police academy. I get, through the hiring process, and I get into my first department. I start working the street, and I realized that those things I saw overseas are not just overseas. They're here at home, from the child sex crimes to the human trafficking to the the violent acts that we can implement on one another. Wow. It's like, dude, how did I go from one mentality of thinking that I can embrace every American and feel safe to this is insane. It's an completely unknown environment, and like I was explaining before, and it dehumanizes some things and aspects. And if you didn't have that experience like I had, and you just went from college to law enforcement, or you went from high school to working some security job into law enforcement, or whatever you did, whatever your path was to get into that line of work, your empathy and the respect for humanity has to always be there. Every person has done wrong in their life, and you have to understand that law enforcement, you're not above the rest. You're just working a profession. You're doing a job. So why attach emotion to that job? Emotion is where you get way too far off that beaten path that's laid for you out in front. Once you tie in emotion to it, I work a drug case, I get a drug bust, I do this, or I work, this, or I get into a shooting and I did all my acts right, I did all my paperwork right, and then I'm still getting civilly sued. Or I'm that case that I had that I literally made sure all my I's were dotted, all my T's were crossed on that search warrant, everything, it gets thrown out. Like all those charges, all those drugs, that person walks when he should have spent 20 years. All these things, if you're emotionally attached to this job to the point where you take that and just it's a dark path. And I think that maybe a lot of law enforcement definitely fall emotionally attached because of how much passion they have to make a difference and to help others. And because of that emotional attachment, they make some severe changes for the worse. And they, it's whether that's internal and the only people that see it are the loved ones, or if that's like what we saw, what's happening right now. So again, my advice for law enforcement is it's a profession. Make a difference. Be a professional. Do not get emotionally attached to the job. Be, the things you see, the unfortunate things you have to see, from kids dying in car crashes to sex traffic to, child sex crimes and stuff like that. It's awful. It's unfathomable. But if you get emotionally attached to it, how is a detective supposed to sit from me to you away from a guy with being accused of a child sex crime and not, if he's emotionally attached, reach across and absolutely just rip his throat out.
And if you have kids.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't do that job. That's one thing I draw a line, man. I can't be a detective because of the amount. It's sickening. But the amount, man, that they do, it's like draw a line where know your weaknesses. Exploit those weaknesses to make them strengths. And the weaknesses, like, again, where I would get emotionally attached to a crime, dude, draw a line. Don't go that route. Like, if there's an instance where, I've been, my family's been threatened on and off, and I've acted out of emotion, and I saw myself doing it, dude, when I watched that Axon body camera and I'm watching this, I'm like, right there, that's when I attached emotion to this job. And it was just like, I need to learn from this mistake, because the next mistake could be, life-threatening to my family and put me in behind bars. So emotion ties a lot of decision making and just clouds it, man. Absolutely.
Well, you guys got anything?
No, everything was said. Put it out there.
I mean,
it's crazy.
I know we went down
it's a lot to
we went
process.
down a heavy path.
Yeah.
But I just wanna thank you for making the time to come out here, man.
Absolutely.
Thank
you guys.
Thank you.
We appreciate you as a law ex-military and law enforcement officer, as well as a friend, dude. So hopefully we'll have many more of these podcasts, and we'll be training lots more together.
Absolutely, brother.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
You're now entering the block house.